Okay, for this one, we are on the WWE Network. You will be going to WrestleMania 13 under the WWE Pay-Per-View tab at the top of the screen. You have the option to jump to Steve Austin, or as it says here, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart submission match. It's also at 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 59 seconds into the event. 1:20:59, 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 59 seconds into the event. If you're someone watching a bootleg performance of WrestleMania here, we're on a wide shot of the ring before the entrances. And I think that's about it. What we'll do is a 5-second countdown, and then I will say press play now, at which point we will press play once again. 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 59 seconds into WrestleMania 13 on the WWE Network. Jim, are you ready?
I am standing by.
Ladies and gentlemen, countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press play now.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the zoom in on the wide shot. I was going to watch this again because obviously I watched it at the monitor the night it happened. There's Shamrock, and good God, look at those fucking arms and that medium girl size referee shirt that makes him look even bigger. And remember that he was just starting. So this was going to be pretty much the first taste that everybody had of Shamrock. I was going to watch this because I watched it at the monitor that night, and I've watched the tape a few times in the few years afterwards. I haven't seen this whole thing all the way through in years and years, but I thought, well, we'll just do it together.
And Shamrock being here was a sign of just how big quickly the UFC had gotten in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and look at Austin. This is what I talk about. You just see guys with game faces. This could be a UFC walkout. He's serious. He looks like he's going into something. He's all business. He looks like a fucking badass. He doesn't look like a fucking middle school child or somebody going out to engage in a performance. And look at the fucking face. And he was already starting to get over, just like fucking, Jackie Fargo did, just like Buddy Rogers did, just like all the fucking great heels that finally became institutions did, is that you would get over with the people because you were badass and you didn't take any shit. And so you already see not only the Austin signs, but you see the Hart signs because, as we said, he's still a babyface. But look at that fucking look. Do you think that guy's come out here to perform and do what he's told? It's all about the perception of people when they're just seeing something, not when they're studying it, but when they're seeing it. And he's jawing with Shamrock to make sure that everybody knows this guy this badass just came from the UFC. Well, I'm as bad as he is. I'm going to get up in his face. What's he going to do about it? And Vince was easy to sell on Shamrock because he didn't know anything about the UFC, but I'd worked with Ken Shamrock when he was Vince Torelli in the Carolinas in 1991. He had the wrestling background then. It's not like he didn't know what he was doing. And then, boy, I long for the days of the simpler sets. Remember these things? Now you could put that in the back of one of the trucks they haul the equipment to the fucking shows with. But there was more room for people in the arenas. We needed it back then. Look at Bret. He's serious. These guys are going out there to do something important for a lot of money in front of a lot of people, and the vibe they give off tells you that. I mean, now it's almost like it looks as different when the guys walk to the ring and the attitude they have as the matches do. And I thought Bret was always trying to find the kid to give the glasses to, but this was not an enthusiastic sunglass handoff, was it? It was like, I got to do this. I'm supposed to do this. Here it is.
And it is a lot more effective having him come out and you could see them at the same level of the fans. Oh, they kicked it.
Boom! And there we go. And because the people were ready for this, because, as we just talked about in the setup, he's been screwed out of his fucking chance at the title and a blah, 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 and they're mad at each other. And they've got something to fucking prove. And the only way this match is going to be over with is if somebody fucking quits. Boom. Boom. The body language, the fucking... It's hard to punch a bald-headed guy. but Bret does it here quite well. But and everybody's gonna say, "Well, Cornette, you hate when all the matches immediately go to the floor." Yeah, that's because that's what all of them do now. This was a co-main event, one of the top matches at WrestleMania. And it's a grudge match, and they're fucking mad at each other. So yeah, let's go outside the ring a little bit and fight around the floor.
Did anyone have to coach Shamrock about how to be a referee here?
Well, I mean, obviously the spots that pertain, the fucking, the guy there in the orange jacket almost got kicked. The spots that pertained to him, they went over to make sure that he knew exactly what was going on. Tony Atlas, by the way, and Lou Albano. That's why they picked that corner.
And Blackjack Brown.
Yeah, Bear Blackjack. But anyway, no, they went over the specific spots, but he'd worked, he'd wrestled, he knew the basic gist of refereeing, and plus, the whole idea was for him to be there specifically because he knew submissions. And now here they go, and they would not get away with this in the publicly traded days now.
And to you younger fans, you didn't see this typically.
No,
you watched a wrestling match.
This.
Yeah,
you never saw this in the WWF. Guys fighting outside the barricade, and you won't see it now. Well, even when people come back because they're a publicly traded company, but back then it was a wrestling war, and we're going to do this wild shit. And you see, but here's all the assholes that don't care about the fight that just want to get on camera. That's another reason why I never liked this shit, because then you can see people smiling and laughing instead of fucking being shocked at the fight. And that's an expose. So even though the guys are fucking working hard here, and also this was before they realized, oh, I hope I don't have to do another one of these. Who is that? I don't know. We'll find out. The reason why that they ended up, this looked so hokey when they did it later on, is because they figured out they had to have multiple security guards. See, right now they got a couple of guys in jackets there and Ken Shamrock. But they need multiple security guards, not to make sure that the guys don't get stabbed anymore, but to make sure that the fucking people don't get hurt and sued. See, look at people laugh. That's why I never like this, because you see people smiling. If they were really fucking fighting, they wouldn't be smiling. I've been out in a bunch of fucking crowds in wrestling matches briefly, and they weren't smiling. They were trying to get us. But anyway, having said that, back to the fucking match. You never saw this shit. This is completely out of control. A no DQ match in the WWF was still fucking romper room time back in the mid 90s. So this was a nod to the ECW fans, because this was starting to be a thing. And also to show they were out of control. But goddamn, I wouldn't want to be in there, even if I was the babyface. Because you never know when you're going to get a foot in the eye, somebody fall on you, take your fucking leg out or whatever. So this is dangerous shit. And I'm glad they're getting back to the ring, because now we can really be professionals. Austin wearing that knee brace, I got to be honest, I was especially after the neck injury too, I was always fucking nervous when Austin was working, when he was the golden goose, because you know, he was on borrowed time in a lot of those cases. He gutted out a lot of fucking injuries and shit. But I was always afraid that, something was going to be the big one, and he was keeping everybody in fucking groceries at that point.
Oh, yeah, they went public on the back of Steve Austin.
Yeah. So anyway, once again, you can see right now, Austin being so aggressive, even though Bret took him out in the fucking crowd, et cetera, et cetera. Austin with the fucking flip off, and they're talking to each other now about something, and the stairs gimmick. Austin being more aggressive. Austin doing all this shit, taking it to Bret is subliminally, normally the babyface shines all the way through at the start, and the fucking heel is a coward. This ain't happening. These guys are just mad at each other, right? So already you can see that the people can think, wow, at fucking Austin, he's going toe-to-toe with a guy that's been a main event guy around here for 10 years. That post thing didn't work. I don't know what was going on there. They're trying to I think somebody's lobbying to do something here, and now okay, we're on the same page. Anyway.
That pink sign you just saw that said Bret Who is a good example of how the fans were slowly turning these guys before they actually turn these guys.
Yeah, because you would have thought that they would have gone for Bret against Shawn Michaels, because Shawn was just such a fucking, the whole heartbreak kid dancing male stripper thing. But when they started just being wise asses, a lot of these the guys that age liked wise asses. So they started liking the DX thing. But look, boom, everything crisp. Look at Austin's face. It's an elbow, but he's selling it. All these guys are crisp. Bret always looked, he's not blown up here, but he looks blown up because he's got that expression, but it looks like he's in some kind of fucking fight. And now they slow it down and they start working in the ring. Now, yes, Bret's nominally the babyface and he's shining, but at the same time, he's doing the kind of shit there's Flair's leg move. He's doing heelish shit. He's walking around with a heelish attitude, and there's the heel selling on the mat like he's in grave pain. So they're starting to tell this story, but at the same time, it doesn't look like anybody is doing anything out of character for themselves. They're just mad at each other. But subliminally, that's the message they're trying to send to people. And fucking Shamrock didn't skip leg day either, did he? He was fucking in shape back then.
I'll tell you, Bret's in great shape here, too.
Yeah, well, can you find anybody practically on an independent show today that is a grown adult man the size of Bret Hart or Steve Austin, either one, much less Ken Shamrock? I mean, that's...
No, wrestling will be a better place if kids today watch more Bret Hart and less Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, there you go. And now look at, once again, Austin, he's set, and now he moves the leg, and Bret, that's a heel fucking thing. He's selling his ass. And look at, Austin goes for the stunner, but he can't capitalize because of the fucking leg, and he's writhing in pain. But look at him groveling and writhing. Look at the way Austin was instantly, he was selling, but he was staying alive. He was always moving. He wasn't just a dead body on the mat. But when Bret was working on his leg, he was selling. Now he's trying to get to his feet, but he's still mobile and moving and staggering, and he's selling the fucking leg. Oh, my God. And he thought he had it, but Bret goes back to the fucking leg. There's an effort being made to look like that he's trying to still attack, even though he's got this bad wheel, and Bret is trying to stay on it like a fucking rabid dog. And now this is the first time ever for the figure four around the post in the WWF. And Bret, matter of fact, Bret said years later, it was a rib on him. That's why he started having the referee fucking catch him, because every time he'd put it on, he'd bash the back of his head on the floor as he just did there. Even matted, that was still a fucking blow. So sometimes he'd have the referee trying to act like he was trying to stop him, and really he would catch Bret's momentum downward and let him down easy. Anyway, Austin was selling there like he was goddamn having a fucking red hot poker shoved up his ass.
And there's Stu and Helen, the front row.
Yep. Stu and Helen right behind, right there on the right-hand side. In big buildings, you had to learn to sell not just with your face, but with your body, because the people couldn't see your fucking face in a 15,000 seat building if they were up in the cheap seats. And now I can't even remember the commentary at this point, but I believe this is the part where they're going, we can't believe Bret Hart. They're basically stunned that he's being this much of an animal and this fucking vicious and etc. And they've already done the Pillman of the chair thing had already been done by the Pillmaning, the ankle. Pillmaning the ankle had been done by Austin. I think the previous month or two, recently somehow. Didn't he do that first?
I don't know if it was a month or two, but yeah, he definitely had done it before.
Yeah, so this is, Bret was going to come off the top, but Austin, boom, one shot. Bret Hart's that. Look at the people now. Look at the people in the bleachers there, starting to hold their hands up and now here's Austin, and look at that goddamn fire. And now he's got a chair, and there's no DQ here. Fuck you, boom, and look at Bret sell it. My God, he's folded up backwards. And now people are starting to fucking clap and stand up a little bit. Austin gets his time to come back. And Bret always took such great buckles, backwards, forwards, whatever. He had that old Calgary style, Dynamite Kid, those guys that did that shit. And obviously they have their match layout. They know the big spots, but they're calling this as they go along, the specific things in between, and you can't tell the fucking difference. Boom! Look at that. But one shot with a chair. Who did it on All Petite Wrestling the other night? Hit a guy 7 times with a chair, didn't beat him? Or was that NXT? Boom! Now Austin does Bret's thing. And he's still fucking halfway favoring that fucking leg. And now Bret's in trouble. And notice, by the way, the bell is laying there on the apron of the ring. It's still in play. And look, that's one thing. The fucking technical crew in this company, even then, they could find the fucking shots. And there's a little bit of spot calling. If I don't point it out, you wouldn't notice. It goes right by everybody because these guys were professionals. They didn't have to remember shit. That's how they could concentrate on their facial expressions. They remembered the high spots, the points they were going to do. They remembered the finish. And then the moves and selling and everything in between was done completely on the fly, completely fucking extemporaneously as it happened.
Who would have been calling it? Because usually the heel calls a match, but I mean, Bret always took his matches so seriously.
Well, in this case, and I wasn't in the ring, but in this case, it was a mutual respect thing where I think Bret, obviously Pat Patterson sat down with him, and everybody knew that either one was free to help Shamrock if he needed it. And I think Bret was the captain, but Austin was chiming some things in when something needed to be done because they hadn't worked together a million times, so they didn't know each other that well. But the point is, you can't tell. I see guys now either memorizing fucking spots ridiculously, a 30-minute match memorized step by step in the back in the locker room over a several-hour period, which is why they all look like the guys are wandering through a routine, or you see guys go in the corner and have a fucking discussion they ought to be having over coffee and donuts for so long because they're trying to communicate something on the fly and they don't know how. This is a combination of we know where we're going and we know part of the places we're going to get there, and a lot more of it's going to be on the fly with what the people are buying. Steve trying to put Bret's hold on, but he didn't know how to put it on. But he wasn't going to get it all the way anyway until Bret fucking gouged his eyes, so there you go. But it was the idea they're each trying to do the other guy's shit and embarrass the other guy and beat the other guy. And Austin, the toughest guy, right now, he would be the fucking baddest ass on the planet in any wrestling promotion, and he's sold more than Ricky Morton in this match. Look at him. And whoosh. Nice bump, but safe. And he's still favoring the leg, but he's getting stronger.
And he's playing to the crowd.
And Shamrock checking on Bret down there to give him a chance to fucking Austin to get his glory. And I believe here, if I'm not mistaken, the juice spot's coming up, or is it not? Or was that Hugo? Is that Hugo?
That's not Hugo, no.
Is that not Hugo? Who is that?
I don't know.
It's Bob Clark. That's Bob Clark. Camera hog. Boom.
Those annoying people in the fluorescent neon shirts.
Yeah, they were a nice couple. They were always nice to me. I thought the juice was coming up here, but maybe a little bit later. But nevertheless.
Napolitano in the second row.
No, there it was. But okay. Because here's the thing. When Bret took that nice safe bump out, I thought I saw it. He took the nice safe bump out on the floor. He pulled his blade off of his wrist, and he got it for fucking Steve. That's how they nobody saw it. Because you're looking for the guy to do his own thing, not the other way around. So anyway, now the fucking heel is bleeding and selling again. The babyface is being real vicious. Look at that body language.
How many guys trusted other guys to cut them? I mean, you talked about it in the Jericho match. He didn't want the bodies to do it.
Well, I think it's not that he didn't trust him. It's like, more or less, I've already fucked this match up and probably my career. I broke my arm. I'll get my own juice, right? Mommy, I can do it myself. It depended on who the fucking guy was. I'd trust Bret. I wouldn't trust Shawn. Some guys are more experienced, and sometimes you did that because that way you didn't see the fucking guy doing it himself. But also there's guys like the Sheik and some other people that would take advantage of that. Anyway, boom, now Bret is working full-fledged heel, working on a fucking guy's cut. Look at Austin selling. He looks like he's fucking legitimately fucked up. Shamrock's concerned. This is starting to look like an NWA match. Help me tell the people there was not this level of seriousness in 90s WWF at this point.
There wasn't this level of blood. I mean, there was no blood for the most part in WWF, and there wasn't much serious stuff. Again, the main event is Undertaker and Sid.
Yeah. And that's not a knock at The Undertaker.
I mean, just look at the goofy little WWF logo, which was, more family-friendly at this point in time.
Yeah.
In the lower left-hand corner.
Look at Austin. They ought to say selling like Steve Austin, because look at that. He's crawling. The facial expression, the body language, he's still leaving himself open to everything, but it doesn't look so obvious. This is what the art is, folks. Now Bret's going to fucking go for the sharpshooter, and at least he knows how to fucking put it on. but look, it comes that fucking Austin does everything he can to try to get out of it, because at that point panic sets in. He's going to get his finish on me. I won't be able to get out of this. I've got to fucking escape. There's an element of desperation. If we had audio now, you would start to hear the announcers get more behind Austin and be, not obviously leading people, but reacting to what the people are doing. And at the same time, you hear the people get, man, look at Bret being vicious. This is not smiling. And they fucking blew for a kick to the balls by the heel. They popped and cheered because it was called for. Bret Hart, the guy who gave his sunglasses to fucking children and was the hero of Canada, suddenly is beating the piss out of this bald-headed guy that's bleeding like a stuck hog. And boy, that's kind of out of character for Bret. Holy shit. And look at Steve pull himself up to his feet. I used to have to, in OVW, I'd have to teach classes with guys on how to pull themselves up to their feet with the ropes. And boom, and that's a nice buckle. And now look at Steve Austin. That's what got Steve Austin over right there. That fire, that head shake, and that I'm going to beat your fucking ass, motherfucker look. Look, and then early stomp in the mud hole. How can you not like that guy as a kick-ass babyface? And look at him staggering. And he still comes back. This is fucking pro wrestling, folks. It's not children doing flips and catching each other when they do their fucking funny dives. It's guys beating the piss out of each other, and you want to see who's going to win. I could have gone without the superplex, but at the same time, that wasn't overdone then either. I'm so used to being, oh, fuck, they got to get up on the top rope, but that wasn't overdone at that point either. By the way, The Rock and Steve Austin in 2001 grossed $50 million in one night, and neither one of them came off top rope. Just a footnote there. Anyway, that was a little go outside, and Bret didn't quite hear it, and fucking he doesn't know what Steve's going to do, and Steve's looking for something. And okay, there you go. Let's get some fucking cable. Steve worked Memphis. Some of this stuff he probably just remembered from seeing on the fucking fly in a few of the territories he worked. And I guess what he wanted Bret on the apron. And he was trying to say to go out on the apron when he was throwing him out, and Bret wasn't getting it quite, so it was a little awkward. But now he's saying, hit me with the bell. Boom. Bam. You never saw this kind of fucking violent bullshit going on in the WWF at that point. That's why it got over. Things that you don't ever see, when you do see them, they shock and amaze you. Now, it looked like Austin was going to fucking take it, and he had Bret fucking strung up and hung out to dry, and suddenly the ring bell to the fucking head that's already bleeding, and now here's the finish that he's won the world title with, that he's goddamn beaten everybody with. Austin ain't going to fucking give up. He's bleeding like a stuck hog. When was the last time they had this level of blood on a WWF pay-per-view before this?
Before this?
Or was this the first one?
Maybe Flair versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 8, maybe? I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but...
And look, and Shamrock's checking him, and Austin's fading, but look at that face. This is what made Steve Austin. This visual of Bret Hart with that sharpshooter on, and Austin with the blood coming out of his head, and the fucking... Remember, there was no tap out then. You had to say, I quit and give up. This was before the tap out got... That's right there. That picture is what made Steve Austin. The blood, the face, he won't give up. Bret Hart's got him. He's too gutsy. He's not going to fucking admit defeat. He fucking gets out of it this time. He's overbalanced Bret, but Bret hangs on. Holy shit. And again, and look, and normally when Flair kept the figure 4 on so many guys for so long, it just became a transition spot and didn't mean anything. And it just meant that the figure 4 couldn't beat anybody. But Bret having this hold on that long with Austin selling it like that and finally passing out. Boom, there it is. Shamrock calls it off. He didn't give up. He never said, I quit. He passed out. And that's the age-old way that you sell a babyface's story. He would rather have been permanently injured than give up. He passed out from the blood loss and the pain rather than fucking tell Bret Hart he was the better man. And now Bret with that fucking expression on his face and you've completed a double turn. Where the guy heel going in is now a babyface, the guy babyface going in is now a heel. Neither one did anything that their character, if you want to say that word, that they would not do if they were really who they were purported to be, but they had a reason for being mad and going too far. And now you can blame Bret Hart for going too far. And now Bret Hart has a bitch. Like every babyface that switches heel, it has to come from something real. He has to have some kind of gripe. He's like, all I've done for you people, and this fucking Austin with his middle finger and his fuck the boss and everything, you fucking cheer him, you boo me, fuck you Americans. In Canada, we take care of our old and our sick. And that's how that whole thing came to be, because it was real. And I look, taking the cheap shots afterwards, because we got to get Shamrock a bit involved here as somebody who's going to keep fucking order. Bret goes back for it again. He's not going to, and Austin's defenseless, helpless. And that's all that needs to happen. World's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, fresh in from the UFC, fucking suplexes him and dumps him, says we can go. And now Bret, who's just switched heel and beat the piss out of Steve Austin, he's had this long match. He's like, I don't know if I want to try this or not. But the Bret Hart of old would have never backed down. But the Bret Hart of a different attitude says, well, we'll just do this later. It's subliminal, simple psychology. That's the way you manipulate people's emotions. You don't dive into goddamn broken glass and gravel and barbed wire, fucking flip around and catch everybody like a goddamn cheerleading squad. And he's still, he's shaking it for the people who want to put a hand out. He's slapping hands, and the guy says, fuck you. He gives a finger to. This was the start of the transition. It didn't just happen overnight. We went from hero to zero instantly. And he's the one that left the ring first so that they could leave Austin there so that, and if Shamrock gets out, when Austin gets back to his feet, he's like, fuck you, I don't need any help. Poor Mike Chioda, there's the stunner, boom. And he's leaving under his own, but look at that selling. But he's going to leave that fucking ring under his own power, and those people are like, God damn, this guy's the real deal. Everything fucking worked. And he's still selling the leg.
Who sells anymore?
I know it looks so odd to have somebody actually selling something. Once the match is over, aren't they supposed to hug and kiss and fucking take a picture that they can send out on Twitter and talk about how great it was to work with each other? Yeah. Austin's like, fuck you guys. This ain't over. I'm going to limp my way to the back. And he was going to milk that for every fucking limp. Made him an extra fan in that building. That's a master of psychology. And you could have that match today, and it would probably get over even stronger because it would be so much more of a departure from what everybody's used to seeing that it would resonate particularly well. They'd probably believe, my God, he really blew his knee. Aren't they going to hold up the X? And look, they kept the camera on him all the way back.
Well, there it is.
Go.
There it is. WrestleMania 13, Bret and Steve Austin. One of the greatest matches in wrestling history. Maybe the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
I believe so. That's why we watched it.
Look at all that blood.
And as a matter of fact, after the Stone Cold versus Bret Hart submission match, they even have a little fucking, so you can see the tail of it, where Austin limps out after Bret leaves, says the WWE Universe sides with Stone Cold as the ending of that match. Because it was such an important part of the modern day. Like you said, they went public off of Steve Austin. This was a memorable moment and an historic occasion when, and a lot of people will think, well, if Austin was getting popular with the people before that at King of the Ring 96, why didn't they turn him before that, before early 97? The whole reason he was getting popular was because he was being who the people thought was himself. Stone Cold, don't give a shit about anybody, don't trust anybody. That guy would probably be a heel. And that's the way that he was able to present himself in such a way that he did get over as an anti-hero. But then when the anti-hero gets so popular because of his badass, don't give a shit attitude, then at some point he has to become a hero, but he can't change and start kissing babies and fucking handing out his sunglasses. So you have to do it in such a way that he doesn't change, his circumstances do. The people he's interacting with do. So then the heel that switches babyface successfully does all the shit that he used to do to the babyfaces, but he does them to the other heels. And that's the attraction. You get a hot heel that's been a prick and a badass and a main event guy for a long time, and he switches babyface. The attraction, as long as you can keep it, is that he's going to do all those dirty things. He's going to use the foreign objects. He's going to cheat. He's going to lie. He's going to steal, but he's going to do it to the other heels, and they deserve it. And that's why that fucking babyface gets over like that. And then after a while, you give him a few human qualities. You have to eventually. But whenever a heel switches babyface and instantly starts to work like a smiling babyface, he's dead in the fucking water because it's phony and the people know it, and that's not why they liked him to begin with. I.e. Diesel, badass bodyguard, Diesel, smiling, sweater-wearing WWF champion. So that's a lesson in psychology for today, folks.
I kept this thing playing. We got the Nation of Domination. I forgot they had Clarence Mason. It's Farouk, Savio, and Crush with PG-13 rapping, and D'Lo's still in a suit. He's not yet officially a wrestler. He's still just one of the generic Nation guys who takes all the bumps.
I got him in as a posse member with every group I could till he finally got a full-time job.
It's true. It's true.
I did, because he was always right there ready to do anything. I said, sooner or later, they're going to reward him because all these other fucks are going to fuck up. But anyway, this was a change where the new young guys that were different faces, but were talents that had better attitudes, that not only wanted to succeed, but knew that they could succeed if the company succeeded, that took the place of the entitled pricks that were worried about their contract and their guaranteed money, the Nashes, the Halls, the Michaels, and the old guard of WWF from the 80s that, learned from Hogan, the selfishness and et cetera, and the new young guys that wanted to, the Mick Foley, that wanted to help the company and wanted to fucking succeed. And Bret was an old guard member, but he was still a company guy. I don't put him in with the fucking bad attitudes. It was a rough transition, but after a couple of years, we got rid of most of the fucking assholes, and most of the people on top wanted to contribute. But it was just, and part of the chaos, as we said, we saw with this, part of the chaos led to part of the serendipitous good shit that happened. But a lot of this was not planned, and a lot of it, that's why I was on the creative team too. I scoff at fucking shit stains fucking claims of what he contributed to this, because I know what mine were and weren't, and what kind of contributions you were allowed to have. When Vince told you, if Vince tells you what you're fucking going to cook and then you come up with the recipe, it's not the same as if you get to determine the menu. That's why nobody's ever seen whether Bruce Pritchard's a good booker or not. He's never booked anything by himself. If we've seen,
he's not.
Well, I'm just saying. Unfortunately, Pat Patterson was a good booker, but then he got to, where he was like everybody else. He was coming up with shit that Vince would like rather than stuff that, you would do if it was just you. But we've seen Russo unedited, unfiltered. That was the underneath shit, the choppy my pee-pee of the Attitude Era. But Vince McMahon back against the wall, having to listen to some of his talent, listening to some of the right talent, and having guys like Pat Patterson to help lay it out and JR to explain it, etc., and listening to the right people, that's when you get Bret Hart and Steve Austin. And so, I laugh at some of the people who take credit for some things, because a lot of this was collaborative effort with the guys involved, and a lot of it was just shit that happened because it was a way we figured out how to get out of other shit. If this had been planned, it would have been brilliant. But none of the Attitude Era origination was planned. It was basically reacting off shit that you couldn't control.
I still have the next match going. It was the Nation versus LOD, or Road Warriors, as we used to
the
know
street
them.
fight.
And Ahmed, the entire Hart family contingent is gone from the front row.
Yeah. Well, they didn't stay all night. They just stayed for their boys' match. And LOD, as I recall, did get a heck of a fucking pop when they came out.
Oh, yeah, well,
Chicago, baby. But anyway, there you have it. Any other questions about Bret Hart and Steve Austin?
No.
And why that nothing else today looks like that, because nobody's as good as they are?
Watching a match like that reminds me why I love wrestling so much. And reminds me why I don't enjoy it that much anymore when we watch it each and every Wednesday.